I have a confession. I think a majority of Western parents are just winging it. Not because they don't love their kids, because most of them have never actually stopped and decided what they're trying to build. Now, so far, I've made 19 long form videos and 108 shorts on the topic of discipline. 13 of those long forms were aimed straight at parenting and discipline. What it is, how it works, how kids learn, why methods fail, why parents have to adapt. Discipline is kind of my jam. But now I want to turn the camera around because I want to talk about the discipline of parenting. That's you. And before I do that, I should probably tell you something. I am not really on your team. I'm on your kid's team. I want your kid to have every possible chance of growing up strong, capable, honest, self-controlled, adaptable, and able to successfully navigate this world without you. Hopefully, you and I are on the same page. But there's a problem. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what gets taught, like courtesy or entitlement, honesty or manipulation. You decide why it matters because hopefully you've actually thought about the kind of adult you're trying to raise. And you get to decide how it's taught. Are you going to talk to them, use consequences like timeouts or spankings, or are you just going to ignore it and hope it goes away? So if I want to help your kid, I have to go through you. And that means it's time to talk about the discipline of parenting. Now let's think this through. How long do you think you actually get to raise or train your kids? Realistically. Now when I've asked parents that question, they usually say 18 years or until college. But I don't think that's realistic. I think it looks more like this. Your kid is born, and from 0 to maybe six-ish, they're around you a lot, unless they're in childcare. But even then, you're still one of the biggest influences in their whole entire world. Then somewhere around 6 or 7, you ship them off to school for 6 or 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you settle into that routine for 12 years. Then if you add sports like music or karate or whatever else they're into, now you got even less time. Now think about just a normal day. You wake up, eat breakfast, then to school or daycare for 8 hours, then you pick them up, go home, get ready for whatever activity they have, then supper, homework, bed. Then you rinse and repeat. After a while, most of your time as a parent gets spent maintaining a schedule, not developing a young mind. So the question stands, how long do you realistically get? I'll tell you how long I think parent gets. I mean, my mom used to tell me ages 0 to 6 sets the personality. And if you haven't taught them everything they need to know by the time puberty hits, you lost them. Now, I took that seriously. I really think you only have about 12 or 13 years because think about the downside. If she was right, I taught a lot of value in a short amount of time. And if she was wrong, I still taught a lot of value in a very short amount of time. But now I have even more time to teach, train, and prepare them for adulthood. So what's the risk of thinking you only have 12 years? I think the bigger risk is thinking you have 18 because when you think you have plenty of time, it's really easy to waste it. And that leads me to my next question. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is your ultimate job as a parent? Is it just to drive them around and fund whatever they do? I mean, what do you actually hope to accomplish for this kid in the long term? What kind of adult do you want to send out into the world? Because before you decide what to teach, before you decide what deserves their time, before you decide what matters, you need to know what you're trying to produce on the other end. You need a picture of the adult you're trying to raise. You need a vision. Now check this out. Every time a new kid would walk into my martial arts school, I basically did the same thing. I'd get him to moving, running, jumping, kicking a pad, blocking, moving around. And at the end of class, we'd play a game. I'd watch them play the games. I wanted to see who led, who hung back, who got frustrated. How did they interact with the kids they had just met? And somewhere in the middle of all that, a picture would start forming in my mind. That kid, years from now, as a black belt, how they'd carry themselves, how they'd think, what they'd be able to handle. That picture was the vision. It was a picture of what I wanted to produce in that kid. And once I could see it, my whole job changed. I wasn't just teaching class anymore. I was building toward a person that didn't exist yet. I was reverse engineering the result one class at a time. And I don't think most parents ever really do that. They raise their kid day to day, problem to problem, activity to activity, without ever stopping to picture the future adult that's being produced. So do that for a second. Picture your kid as an adult. What do they look like? I mean, not physically. I mean, like, who are they? What kind of character do they have? Are they confident? Can they think for themselves? Are they physically active? Are they physically capable? Can they protect themselves? How do they treat people? Can they control themselves physically, emotionally, and mentally? Do they understand that life can be dangerous, unfair, scary, and hard? Are they family oriented? Do they contribute to their family? Do they help people outside their family? When life gets confusing, who do they turn to? Do they turn to God or themselves or everybody around them or social media? Do they know the difference between right and wrong? And when choosing the right costs them something, do they still choose it? Could they live on their own independently? Could they actually handle adulthood without you? What does that person look like? Now, some of those questions are easy. Some of them you may have never really thought about, but you need to. You have to picture it. You have to see it in your mind, because once you can see the adult, you can start working backwards. What do they need to learn? What do they need to practice? What needs to become normal? What needs to become part of their character? That's where all these individual disciplines start showing up, like honesty, courtesy, self-control, responsibility, courage, faith. All of those are like individual disciplines, but they start showing up when you have a vision. Whatever you decide belongs in that future adult, you now have to figure out how to build it, because ultimately that's your job. It's not the schools or their friends or social media or Grok. It is yours. And once you know where you're trying to go, you need a way to make decisions that actually move you in that direction. I call that decision discipline. That's the filter that helps you make solid decisions as a parent, and that is what's next. Now, once you have a vision, you get a tool you didn't have before, a filter. It's only one question, and you run everything through it. Does this thing or this activity move my kid closer to the vision I have for my grown-up adult kid, or does it move it further away? Run everything through that filter, not just the big stuff, everyday stuff. I'll give you an example. What's more valuable to your vision for your kid, books or using a screen of any kind like a phone, tablet, video games, TV, whatever? If you have to pick one, which one actually builds something in line with your vision? Well, let's look at the benefits of each. A book hands your kids half a job and makes them finish it. They have to be able to read, they have to be able to comprehend what they read, they have to visualize the characters, build the world in their mind, and follow an idea across hundreds of pages. But a screen does all that work for them. The visualization's already done. There's no reason for them to use their imagination. Nothing gets built, it just gets consumed. Now run that through the filter. Do books or screens move my kid closer to my vision or further away? Oh, come on. You know books win. It's not even close. I don't know where this crazy notion that parents must provide screens to their kids came from. It seems to be some kind of weird entitlement for kids. Screens are privileges, and in my house, they couldn't pass the filter. I never even let my kids read books on screens. Books are books and have pages. Screens are not books. And let's be honest, the people who end up running like everything, business, government, whatever you want to name, the people in charge are almost always the ones who can read very well, they comprehend what they read and can hold an idea, and they can picture something in their head that doesn't exist yet. That's not an accident. That's what gets built by choosing books over screens. You see, I just looked at the things that consistently help people have success, and then I compared culturally accepted things like screens to what would give my kids the highest possible chance at success. That's the filter working. It's the same simple, honest question for every decision all the way down. And look, I just walked you through the thought process for one thing. You have to use the filter and develop some decision discipline in everything. Like, I didn't let my kids do any sport or activity unless I was 100% sure it was going to help me develop them, to get closer to the vision I had of my kids as an adult. If baseball can help me teach things like sportsmanship, camaraderie, and teamwork, and that's the vision I have for my kids, they're playing baseball. If karate can help me teach work ethic, goal setting, and personal protection, my kids are going to do karate. See, I only allowed them to do things that would complement what I was already trying to build, or at least move them closer to the vision. That's decision discipline. The vision tells me what I'm trying to build. The filter helps me decide what belongs and what doesn't. So what's the picture of vision supposed to be made up of? Well, for me and my kids, it was character, like courtesy, honesty, self-control, and I mean all three kinds of self-control: physical, emotional, and mental, and everything I found in the Bible on top of that. Here's what I noticed after 30 some years of doing this with my own kids and other people's kids. If you build character first, the other stuff people obsess over, like work ethic, just do your best, be a good person, those things just show up on their own. You don't have to teach them separately. They're byproducts of a strong character. Take honesty, for example. If you establish honesty in your kid as a superior guiding principle, it fixes a whole bunch of issues at the same time. Lying, deception, leaving out part of the story, omitting facts about what happened, trying to hide something. And over time, honesty builds trust. But honesty becomes even more valuable when it turns into a filter. And that makes decision making for them even easier. It makes doing the right thing when nobody's looking easier because they're actually thinking the decision through based on something you've already built into them. Am I telling the truth? Am I hiding something? Am I leaving something out on purpose? See, now they don't have to remember 100 different little rules for 100 different situations. They got one bigger principle sitting on top of all of that. Honesty. That's what I mean by character creating byproducts. If you build character into your kids, you'll get a ton of valuable byproducts. And all of it will help you get closer to the vision you have for your kids. And look, that was my vision for my kids. It doesn't have to be yours, but you do need a clear vision for your kids, a real one, specific enough that you could describe the adult on the other end of it in a sentence. So when I say a lot of Western parents are just winging it, this is what I mean. They love their kids, they work hard, they drive them everywhere, they pay for everything, they keep the schedule moving, but they never stop and decide, what am I actually trying to build in this kid, my kid? And if you don't have that answer, you're guessing, you're reacting, you're just winging it. You're making decisions one problem at a time instead of building towards something on purpose. That's why vision matters. You decide what kind of adult you're trying to raise, then you build a filter around that vision. Does this thing move them closer to the vision I have for them, or does it move them further away from the vision? That's the discipline of parenting. It's not about control, and there's no such thing as having the perfect method. It's knowing what you're trying to build and making decisions on purpose instead of just hoping it all works out. Because you're the gatekeeper. And eventually, your kid's going to have to walk out of your house and survive this godforsaken planet on their own, making decisions without you. So build the picture, use the filter, teach on purpose, don't wing it. Now, if you're wondering where all this information comes from, I'll tell you real quick. I was a martial arts instructor for over 35 years. I still teach martial arts to 3 to 6-year-olds. I have literally worked with tens of thousands of kids over the course of my career, and I raised 3 of my own. My entire job was using martial arts as a tool to teach kids about building strong character that lasts long terms. The learning process that accomplished that is called discipline. I've gotten in so many arguments about what discipline is and how it works that it is mind-boggling. But the only definition that actually works is the original definition. The original definition is to learn or be taught. The way I establish discipline has been tested on thousands of kids, mine included, and adults too. It doesn't matter if they're neurodivergent or not. It works consistently and is duplicatable. Now, if you want to know more, all you have to do is subscribe and maybe share the channel with your friends or your adult kids that have children. I'll see you next time.